Dear students, we have come to the end of the power electronics classes. Today, we are going to discuss the 10th chapter, that is power electronics applications. In the previous classes, you studied about power electronic semiconductor devices, rectifiers, control rectifiers, inverters, cycloconverters, buck boost converters, and various applications we are going to study today. In today's class, we are going to discuss about speed control of shunt wound DC motor, speed control of induction motor by variable voltage, variable frequency, and we will discuss about the optocouplers construction, and also we are going to discuss about the solid state relay, advantages, application of solid state relays. We know in DC motor, we all studied about DC motor in the last semester, DC shunt wound DC motor, whose speed can be varied by three methods: flux control, armature resistance, and by varying the armature voltage. By varying the armature voltage, we can vary the speed of a DC shunt motor. So, how to vary the voltage? So, DC motor requires a DC supply. How to vary the DC supply voltage? So, by power electronic device, already know we can vary by using a rectifier, control rectifier. These are the things we are going to discuss today. So, this by DC control DC motor whose speed is to be controlled now, that we are going to study today. DC motor speed, just I told, we can control the speed of DC motor by three methods: flux control, voltage, armature voltage, and armature resistance method. So, this is a particular application of a DC motor in sugarcane milling DC motor. So, see the voltage rating, 500 kilowatts, voltage is 220 volts. It is a shunt wound construction. So, DC shunt motor already already studied, shunt field winding. Shunt field winding and armature. So, by varying the flux, also we can vary the speed of a DC motor. By varying the voltage, also we can vary the speed of a DC motor. By varying the armature resistance, we can vary the speed of a DC motor. So, there are two motor controls methods are there. One is open loop operation, another one is closed loop operation. So, in open loop operation, so if the load torque changes, speed will also change. So, here there is no control over the speed. We cannot keep the speed constant here because of open loop operation. So, this is not satisfactory in many applications where constant speed is required. We cannot go for open loop operation. So, what we do in the lab is open loop operation. If changing the load, torque occurs, so speed will also change. We do not use a closed loop operations in our labs, or in small applications we do not use that one. So, if you want to make the speed constant, where some of the application requires where you need to maintain the speed constant. How to make the speed constant? So, in closed loop operations, we should be able to sense, we should be able to read, or we should be able to measure the speed, and have to set the reference speed. So, comparing the reference speed, if there is an error, if there is a difference between the reference speed and the actual speed and the current speed, if there is an error, so we use that error to change the speed of a motor. So, by varying the voltage, applied voltage, we can change the speed of a DC motor. So, that is called a closed loop operation. So, closed loop operation requires the speed is to be measured. So, the speed should be controlled in electrical quantity. So, again the set speed, that two has to be compared. So, by comparing that one, by the error, using that error, we should alter the either voltage or what are the methods you adopt, so to vary the voltage of a DC motor. So, let us take up this is a closed loop scheme. So, in closed loop operation always requires a feedback signal. Closed loop operation always a feedback signal. So, this is a feedback we are getting. So, we have a thyristor phase controller we already studied. So, using which we can obtain a variable DC voltage. This is AC input fed to the thyristor phase control rectifier, where you will get a variable DC voltage. So, that is fed to DC motor. So, that is again output, the DC motor is coupled to some mechanical load, whatever it may be. So, we will continuously will be measuring the speed by means of a tacho generator. So, its input will be speed and output will be voltage signal. So, this analog signal will be proportional. The output of a tacho generator voltage, its output voltage, it is transducer, which converts transducer already studied in measurements. So, it converts signal one time to the another time. So, input here speed, the tacho generator, the output voltage will be proportional to the speed. Now, this analog voltage is compared with a set speed that I have not shown here. So, the error will drive whether the error is used to vary the firing angle of a thyristors in a phase control rectifier. So, by varying the firing angle, already you know we can vary the voltage. So, by varying the voltage you can vary the speed. So, once the speed is reaches a set speed, so the DC tacho generator will be reading the desired speed, then so the difference for the error will be 0. So, it will maintain the, so then no need, corrective action is not required. So, corrective action is required So, corrective action is required only when there is an error, when your speed is not equal to your desired speed. So, then only correction action is required. When you are getting, when your speed is equal to what is required, so the actual speed, desired speed is equal to this measured speed is equal to set speed, the error will be 0. So, it is no corrective action is required. So, whenever there is a change in the load, the speed varies. Whenever a speed varies, the corrective action comes into picture. Then we vary the corrective actions, that error varies the, using control circuit will vary the firing angle of thyristors. So, it varies the voltage here. The output of a thyristor phase control rectifier varies. So, that varies the speed. This is how the closed loop speed control scheme works. So, in a closed loop, that is why the loop is closed here. In open loop, there is no control. So, we cannot change the speed whenever there is a load changes. So, since the loop is closed here, this we call it as a closed loop. So, in open loop, this one will not be there. Tacho generator, no measuring of speed, no feedback signal, all these things will not be there. So, this will not be there. Only AC thyristor phase control, DC motor, mechanical load. This is an open loop. In a closed loop, we keep on measuring the some set intervals. We measure the speed. So, using tacho generator, that speed is a physical quantity converted in electrical quantity. So, that is again we use that signal, control signal, to vary the firing angle of a thyristor. Once the firing angle of thyristor is varied, its output voltage varies. So, accordingly vary the applied voltage to the DC motor, applied voltage to the armature DC motor, speed varies. So, this is how the closed loop system works. Let us take up the actual circuit. So, this is a speed control of shunt mode DC motor by armature control method. So, here again already what we see in the block diagram, all components are available here. So, we have a bridge rectifier. So, a bridge rectifier, we have a bridge rectifier here. So, this is a rectifier, again a DC armature, we have a motor, DC motor, armature DC motor. So, use a SCR here. So, we are using SCR, this is another different circuit, there are various circuits we have. Using SCR, we can vary the firing angle of, by varying the firing angle, we can control the voltage applied to the armature. So, this is SCR used in conjunction with the diac and the capacitor. So, when the capacitor voltage reaches a threshold voltage of diac, it conducts and it fires the SCR. So, these are the elements we have. So, during positive half cycle, so we will get a pulsating DC across these terminals. So, this is applied to the field winding. This is a field winding. This is how we are getting a pulsating voltage here. This is output of rectifier. So this is a shunt field winding connected across the armature here. So the applied voltage to the field winding will be constant. So whereas the voltage applied to the armature will be variable. You can see here by using the thyristor. So this is a circuit I have given a red. So this is the one. During positive of cycle, initially the capacitor is discharged. See how the working takes place. During the pulsating voltage applied across this armature now. This is the path during positive of cycle. So across the armature, then the diode D1, R1 and the capacitor. So armature, D1, R1 and the C. During positive cycle, see the refer to the figure now. During positive cycle, pulsating voltage is applied across this armature. Again the path will be D1, R1 and C. The capacitor will get charged. This is the path what I have shown in the reading. This is the path during the positive cycle, during the beginning of the positive cycle. So whenever now the capacitor starts charging, when the voltage across capacitor reaches the threshold voltage of this diode, conducts and SCR is fired. So how to vary the firing angle? The path is already told you through the armature, D1, R1 and the C. So by varying this R1, this is a variable resistance, you can see. By varying the R1, you can vary the firing angle. So we can vary the voltage applied to the voltage applied across the armature of a DC motor. So how the discharge takes place? During negative half cycle, so the gets charged and the path will be this one. During the negative half cycle, the capacitor is charged and now discharges. The discharging path will be C, D2, R2 and the field winding. So when SCR is off, we have seen another. This is called the feedback diode. So during SCR is off, the energy stored in inductor will be passes through this, bypass through the D3. So when the SCR is off, that is what we call the D3 diode. So by varying the firing angle using the R1, we can vary the voltage across the armature, hence we can vary the speed of a DC motor. Now there are two time constant. One is charging time constant. The charging time constant is the parameters for charging time constant will be resistance R1 and the diode forward resistance of D1, and the discharge time constant will be this D2 and R2. So the discharge time constant TD will be kept sufficiently low so that it will be the capacitor will be reset at the beginning of each half cycle. So this is the thing you have to keep in constant, keep in mind. So this is again summarizing the speed control of shunt wound DC motor by armature control method. So we have already seen it consisting of full wave bridge rectifier, supplies pulsing DC voltage to motor field and armature. So the SCR controls the voltage applied to the armature. The freewheeling diode is connected across the armature of DC motor, that is called the freewheeling diode. The freewheeling diode provides a discharge path for energy stored in the inductor when SCR is turned off during each half cycle. So DIAC already told you, along with capacitor trigger is used to trigger the SCR. So the principle of operation, just I want to summarize again. So the already told you, initially capacitor is discharged. So it charges the beginning of each half cycle through the armature winding D1, diode D1 and the resistance R1. When capacitor is charged to forward breakover voltage of DIAC, DIAC conducts and triggers the SCR. The pulsating voltage is now applied to the armature. The charging time TC determines the triggering angle. The triggering angle is controlled by resistance R1. The power delivered to armature depends on the how long the SCR is conducting. So, already now I told you the triggering angle is controlled by resistance R1. The power delivered RMS depends on the conducting angle of the SCR. Longer the duration, more power is delivered to the load, and the firing angle will be small. If firing angle is large, the power delivered will be less. Less voltage will be applied. At the end of each half cycle, the capacitor discharged to the field winding R2 and just now I told you. The discharge time constant TD is made sufficiently small, so that capacitor reset at the beginning of each half cycle. So, this is how the speed control of a DC shunt wound takes place. So, now let us take up the speed control of 3-phase induction motor. Closed loop control system for a 3-phase induction motor. So, we have already seen what is the closed loop control system is. So, like in the scheme we have studied for a DC motor. So, 3-phase induction motor is similar. Again we are using a phase control rectifier here, phase control rectifier. So, the output of phase control is fed to the filter by getting a smooth DC voltage. Again we are using inverter to getting a variable frequency. So, we already just I think we have already studied now, by this time we already studied about induction motors. The speed control of induction motor can be done by using by either varying the voltage, or by varying the frequency, or by varying both frequency and the voltage. And which is the most popular method of varying the speed of induction motor? V by F method, by varying both frequency and voltage. So, that is why we are using a variable frequency inverter, so to vary the frequency. So, that is again variable frequency and variable voltage, both are varying here, fed to the induction motor, and some load connected. As again we already seen, to measure this voltage. So, measure the speed, convert into electrical quantity, feed it a control logic and triggering circuit. So, this is triggering circuit for both rectifier, firing signals both for rectifier and inverter. So, this is a block diagram of a closed loop system. In closed loop system, so whenever the speed departs from your set speed or desired speed, so we get an error, the speed will measured, so we will get an error, the error will drive this control logic and triggering circuit. So, accordingly it will vary the firing angle of this phase control rectifier and firing angle of this inverter. So, as long as it is till the error becomes 0, so it will continuously it will be varying, firing angle variability here and here. So, when speed reaches the set value, no control error signal becomes 0, so it continues to run at the set speed. So, this is how the scheme works. So, basically here also we need a rectifier. Since a induction motor works with the AC, we need an inverter. So, this inverter was not required in DC shunt motor because it works on DC only. So, three important item is a rectifier here, rectifier, inverter. So, if you want in a closed loop, we need a transducer, and this control logic and triggering circuits are required. So, this way we measure the error. Accordingly, you have to vary the firing angles for rectifier and the 3-phase variable frequency inverter. The inverter job is to convert, you already know, the input is DC, output will be AC. So, variable frequency and variable voltage. The job of filter is to smoothen remove the ripples in the output voltage of control rectifier, only for smoothing purpose. So, variable DC voltage is fed to 3-phase inverter, we get a variable frequency, variable voltage here. This already we covered in previous sessions. You know what is inverter now. So, what is rectifier, you know. So, already you know induction motor. So, speed of induction motor can be varied by various methods. I think you already know, by varying the stator voltage, by varying the frequency. This is another V by F, and also rotor voltage also you can vary. I think that also we studied, but popular method is V by F. So, by varying the stator voltage, so speed also can be varied, but only to little extent. So, that is not efficient method or not popular method, or by varying the frequency also can be varied. By varying the frequency, so the flux also will get varied. Again it affects the magnetic balance of the motor. So, that is efficiency also decreases, losses increases there, efficiency decreases. So, that is by variable by only varying the frequency of a induction motor. The speed of that method is not a popular method, that is inefficient method. So, you have to, if you vary voltage or frequency, you have to maintain the flux constant. So, that is why this is called a variable frequency, variable voltage. So, if you vary the voltage if you vary both V and F, the flux can be maintained constant. The relation we know, the voltage is proportional to the frequency, flux and all. So, if both frequency and voltage is varied, the flux remains constant. So, again the maximum torque, that also almost remains constant. So, for all reasons we go for this method, variable frequency, variable voltage, so that the V by F is maintained constant. So, V by F maintained constant means flux is maintained constant. So, that is the reason why we are going for variable frequency, variable voltage method of speed control. This is a popular method. So, this is actual circuit. So, already told you we have this is a phase control rectifier, filter circuit, filter circuit. We have inductor and the capacitor here, and this is a inverter, force commutated inverter circuit. I think you are able to identify. This is a voltage source inverter. This section is a voltage source inverter, phase controlled rectifier. Again 3-phase supply we are getting. So, this part, this is connected to the output of a inverter, is connected to a 3-phase induction motor. 3-phase induction motor, it is squirrel cage rotor. We measure the speed, we use a tacho generator. This is a transducer which converts speed variation into voltage variations. So, this is the important one is feedback and triggering control circuit. This is a feedback signal and we set speed, we set the some desired speed. This is a feedback speed feedback signal. We'll compare. If there is an error, we will change the firing angles to converter, rectifier and the inverter, so that we will get the desired speed. So, this is how the system works. So, very simple here we have a rectifier, 3-phase control rectifier, inverter, in between we have a DC link. So, this is for smoothing purpose. We have a capacitor. So, this is again connected to the output of a inverter is connected to the squirrel cage induction motor. Measure the speed using the tacho generator. So, this will be the measured speed and the set speed. Firing pulses, this also this circuit also generates a triggering pulses to both converter and the inverter. So, if there is an error, so we have to vary the firing pulses to this and this. This is a closed loop system. In closed loop system, we need to have a feedback signal. The feedback signal here is the speed. So, we are to vary the speed here whenever torque, whenever load varies, load and the motor varies. The feedback signal has to be a speed here. So, that is why we are measuring the speed. So, cannot feed the speed directly like this, we have to convert an electrical quantity, a voltage. That is why you are using a tacho generator, a transducer. This is a control circuit. We are not bothered about the control circuit now, just you see the block, feedback and triggering control circuit. So, depending on the error, this will act and vary the firing angle to this and this. By varying, it will voltage both the voltage and frequency of the output voltage and frequency here. Accordingly, speed get varied. So, this is the most popular method of varying the speed of induction motor by VF method, variable frequency method. Can also use a cycloconverter all studied, that is used for very high power applications. So, this is again a summary of this method. So, here the achieved by a square wave inverter, already told you. DC voltage is obtained from a phase control rectifier. The voltage is fed to the force commutated bridge inverter which generates required variable voltage frequency output. The inverter output is connected to a 3-phase induction motor. So we have a filter circuit to smoothen the output or to smooth out the ripple. The capacitor maintains, I have already shown the capacitor there, the voltage of the DC link at a constant value. So it is a voltage inverter used called voltage source inverter, because the voltage input of the filter capacitor is connected to the input of the inverter. So voltage is applied there, voltage is maintained constant. A cycloconverter also can be used here, because the cycloconverter used for very large applications. We can use also this one, we can be used here, that is normally used for very high, very large power applications. So in closed loop system, the actual speed is compared with the desired speed of the induction motor. This arrangement makes use of the feedback from the tacho generator. I already told you, to achieve the desired speed of the motor. The speed error signal here controls inverter frequency and also generate a voltage signal through an amplifier to control the triggering angle of phase control rectifier. This already told you. The loop signal error, the error actually controls the inverter frequency and also the triggering signal to the phase control rectifier. If there is no error, if there is no error means the desired speed, the speed where the induction motor speed is equal to desired speed. So it will, normal operation will be continued. Whenever there is error, so we have to change the firing angles. So in that, these things are important. So the control circuit is important there. So we have to vary the firing angles for both rectifier as well as the inverter. Even otherwise also we need the firing signals, that is different. Only when if there is error, we need to change again the firing angles of inverter and the rectifier there. Whenever there is an error, that means when the speed of induction motor is different from the set speed, that is where a corrective action is required. So that takes place, that happens only in closed loop system. In open loop system, there cannot be any corrective action because there is no feedback. So those two things were completed: speed control of a DC motor and speed control of a induction motor. Now we will take up another new topic, optocoupler. So optocoupler, I think we may be familiar. So optocoupler is also called an opto-isolator. So it is a device which transfers electrical signal from one part of the circuit to the another part of the circuit. This can be related to a transformer, where it transfers the power from one part of the circuit to another part of the circuit. So there the transformer is electrically separated and magnetically coupled. Here also in optocouplers, the input circuit one side and the output circuit are electrically separated. So in optocoupler, it coupled optically coupled. The name itself suggests it is a optocoupler or in isolator. So what you can expect in optocoupler and opto-isolator? So it should have a light source and a detector. Optocoupler itself, opto means light, so it is light coupled. So if you know the transformer, I think you can relate it to here. So they are magnetically coupled, here they are optically coupled. So the input circuit and the output circuit are electrically separated. The only separation, only connection through the light only. So this is a very good isolator. So isolates input circuit from the output circuit. So opto-isolator cell is a combination of consisting of a light source and a photodetector. A light source may be LED source. A photodetector, a simple photodetector may be a photodiode, a phototransistor, or light activated SCR. So these are the photodetectors. So an LED, this is a simple optocoupler. So LED source. So this is a photodetector. Only connection between these two through light only. That is why it is the best isolator. So, very high insulation will be there between input circuit and the output circuit. So, optocouplers are designed to provide a complete electrical isolation between an input and output. So, what is the purpose of this isolation? Is it to say it is provide a protection from high voltage surges, surge voltage and low level noises that may produce errors in the output, only to isolate from input circuit and output circuit. If isolate by optical means, we have many advantages. Noises also reduced, insulation will be very high, isolation. So, optocouplers also provide interface between different voltage levels. The only contact between the input and output is a beam of light. So, we have different varieties of optocouplers. The figure shows here an output will be a photodiode output here. Here photo SCR, the varieties of output. The input stage optocoupler consisting an efficient gallium arsenide infrared emitting diode. This is a light emitting diodes. The output state is opposite of phototransistor. These are different types of optocouplers. You can see a phototransistor output here. This is an LED here, output will phototransistor. So, the only connection through is only through light only. So, photo Darlington output, there are different types. The triac driver output, where we have a triac LED drives the triac. These are the other types of optocouplers. A particular optocoupler, you can see the pin configuration: 1 anode, 2 cathode, so 3, 4 collector emitters, one variation there. So, another variation we have a 6 terminal one, anode, cathode, NC, anode, cathode, NC here, base, collector, emitter. So, whenever give a control signal, whenever this is the control signal is fed to the LED, it emits. So, this light signal is detected by a phototransistor, and this collector can be connected to any load required. So, that is how you are connecting one input circuit, or that is how it transferred, signals are transferred from input to the output. So, the medium through the medium of light, this is what an optocoupler means. Couplings through optical signal, this is how the signal are transmitted from one part of the circuit to the another part. At the same time, we are providing the isolation. So, the input circuit is totally isolated from the output circuit. So, it is an high speed photocoupler, a particular high speed photocoupler is shown here. So, actually why the optocoupler was designed? So, it is a solid state device to replace mechanical relays and pulse transformers, as it offers high value of isolation resistance. Isolation resistance, already told you, it is very high between input and output, because the only connection between input and output through the light only. No, there is no electrical connection. What are the advantages offered by optocouplers? So, fast operating speed, only the connection between input output only 3 is a light, you know the speed of the light, very fast operations, very small size, there is no bounce action, there is no mechanical contacts or things related here, no moving parts. So, to stick to insensitive to vibrations, so no vibration shocks and all, it is very insensitive to vibration and shocks. It is my most important thing here is compatible with logic and microprocessor circuits. That is where optocouplers finds application. So, they are compatible with the logic and voltage levels or the current levels. So, they will easily go with the logic and microprocessor circuits. That is another big advantage of an optocouplers. So, our optocouplers are very fast in speed, small in size, they provide very high isolation resistance between input and output. So, there is no any problem with the over voltages from the input side, because it totally isolated from the input side. This is where we can see the applications there. So, another important solid state relay. So solid state relay already seen already in the lab, that is electromagnetic relay. So electromagnetic relay already experienced with that electromagnetic relay, we have a contacts there. Because of contacts, sometimes maybe arcing may be there. So wearing of contacts also takes place. Power consumption is also more. So when you go for a solid state, if you replace that by solid state relay, a relay is a device which switches power to a load circuit. A power may be AC or DC, can be used for both. And at the same time provides electrical isolation between applications control circuit and the load circuit. There is electrical isolation is there in a solid state relay. So solid state relay is always more convenient to work, more advantages we will see later than your electromagnetic relay. So any relay means switches the power to a load circuit on and off. So it is like a switch, on and off power to the load circuit. So we are seeing looking at a solid state relay. So this control signal is a control signal, again a photocoupled here, again LED. So we can use this, we can make the switch on and off. We can switch on and off means load is connected to the supply, load is disconnected to the supply. So this is how this describes a simple way of showing a solid state relay. No mechanical contacts as you see in a relay. So this is photocoupled. So LED control signal got fed to the LED. So this light signals are detected by a photo device here, photodiode or phototrans, whatever it may be. It switches on and off according to load is connected and load is disconnected. So this is how it works. So looking at this only can say some advantages. Very small in size, no noise, no wearing of contacts here. So no sparking, no spark occurs. So you can use any environment, you can use even explosive environments you can use. Power consumption is very low because here LED are using, it also comes power consumption less. No big contacts, no electromagnets. So looking at this figure you can say many advantages. Anyway we will discuss at the end of the this one. So this is how we can see a physically you can see the relay, a solid state relay. Next slide we see the application here. See again control signal, same photocoupled, optocoupled one. This is a switch, maybe controlled by any one of the things, maybe a track controlled or any other thing. So a motor here. So easily describes how the advantage of a solid state relay compared to any other solid state relay, electromagnetic relays. So advantages use a solid state relay here, less in weight. Another thing, you can mount it any manner you like, horizontal, vertical, any manner you like. So that is another advantage. Shock resistance, vibration resistant, less noise, no electromagnetic, no magnets, no electromagnetic interference. See the innumerable advantages of a solid state relay. Let us take up the particular solid state relay. This is a photocoupled, you can say optocoupled solid state relay. We have a control signal, we have a LED here, phototransistor, a triac, this is a triggering circuit, load and the AC power. Again a solid state relay I told is an on off control device which the load current is conducted by one or more semiconductors. So whenever this triac is on, it connects the AC power to the load. Let us see the working here. Whenever the control signal is fed to the LED, so the radiation, the light signals are detected by phototransistor. When the phototransistor is turned on, so it gives a triggering signal to the triggering pulses to the triac is switched on, so it connects the AC power to the load. So operation is very simple. The operation very simple. Again there is isolation. There is complete isolation between the control circuit and the load circuit. There is complete isolation. Again this isolation again here, the isolation resistance very high because the only connection between this circuit and this circuit is to the light signal. then nothing else. So, have a very high isolation resistance. Whatever any damage occur here, nothing will happen to this side. Let us summarize the working of a solid state relay. So, already told you control signal is applied to the light or infrared source. So, a light emitting diode or LED. So, radiation from that source is detected in a photosensitive semiconductor, that is a photosensitive diode or a photosensitive transistor, already shown the photosensitive thyristor. The control signal is applied to light or applied to LED. So, the light signals are detected by a photodiode or a phototransistor or a photosensitive thyristor. The output of photosensitive diodes is then used to trigger the triac. The output is used to trigger the triac, I already shown the figure, or they say that switches the load. The coupling part between input and output is a beam of light or infrared radiation, and the electric isolation is excellent. So, if you want, you can. So, this is isolation here between control and this circuit is only through light. The isolation is excellent here. So, that is why these solid state relays also referred as optically coupled or photo isolate type of solid state relay. We already shown told you some advantages. Let us summarize the advantages. Already told it is a faster. The solid state relays definitely they are faster than the mechanical relays. There is no mechanical related, no moving parts. So, the time delays associated with them are not there, though these are very fast. And also they are already long life. All long life because internals are purely digital, no moving parts, no arcing, such things are not there. So, life will be longer. So, there is no electromagnets involved, no mechanical parts, that is why no electromagnetic interference is there, no electromagnets. So, they are less susceptible to physical vibrations, no mechanical parts, nothing is there. So, no vibration, they are not subjected to, they are very insensitive to vibrations. So, here the switch inside is not mechanical switch, therefore, there is no bouncing, so there is no noise, they operate silently. Again I will tell you no sparking, so they can use in explosive environments, they are very less sensitive to shocks, vibrations, humidity, external magnetic field also does not affect it. These are the various advantages. So, these advantages are listed in very short form from examination point of view. Maybe you can easily write, if you want you can note it down, they are easy to reproduce in the exam. I put it in a very short form so that you can easily write this in examination. So, long life, quiet operation, electrical noise, minimum electrical noise, shock and vibration resistant, ideal for harsh environment, high compatible with electrical system. I already told you they work well with microprocessors or logic circuits, and very fast switchings, no mechanical related mechanical parts, no contactors. They are very position insensitive, means you can position in vertical, horizontal, the whatever manner you like. So, it is not like electromagnetic relays. So, these are the various advantages of solid state relays. So, this again listed the same advantages: low power consumptions, zero voltage turn on, zero current turn on, allows minimum electrical disturbance. Again shock and vibration resistance, unreliable operation operating under tough environments. Same thing I have listed. Ideal for harsh environments, do not generate sparks or electric arcs, they do not bounce either electrically or mechanically. Designed as a pollution degree 2 devices. As for specification, this need not worry. So, isolation levels up to 4 kilowatts. So, that is purpose I have listed. Magnetic fields have little effect on solid state relay. So, isolation levels is up to 4 kV. Just for information, for examination point, I just already told you what are the advantages, just listed them or write this name, that is all. High compatible with the control systems. So, circuit can be switch on and off by digital systems such as a PLC. They are highly compatible with this PLCs, already doing, I think you will be knowing about PLCs in next semester, programmable logic controller and microcontroller based systems. AC control SR can be driven by limit switches. thermal switches and sensors carrying AC control signals. There are fast switching, control signal less than 100 microseconds. See speed of this one. Position intensity suitable for mounting in either vertical or horizontal positions. So these are the various advantages. Now let us see the applications of solid state relays. The various applications of solid state relays. So the easy one, the popular one is temperature control, motor control. Just now you have seen how you can use a solid state relay for motor control, for switching on of power to motor. Just now you see the using solid state relay, resistance heating, industrial automation, industrial lighting, traffic control, fire and security systems, medical equipment. So these are the various applications of solid state relays. So a particular application you can see on this slide, heating control. So heating control. So this the maximum application of solid state relays is in the heating. So encompass largest segment of solid state relays users. Who are the maximum users of solid state relays? Heating control. Application include, they are used in food equipments, plastic molding, again air conditioning and refrigeration, and soldering equipment. So major application of your solid state relays will be in the heating control. So benefits of using solid state relay here are long life, no maintenance, safe product, easy to interface, as well as enabling temperature accuracy, suitable for heat, fan, blower and valve control. So these are practical real life applications you can see here. I think you can also remember, you can see the pictures there. Major application here in the heating control. In the heating control you have food equipments, again air conditioning and refrigeration, soldering equipments. Why you are using them? What are the benefits if you use a solid state relay there? Long life, no maintenance, easy to interface. So enabling the temperature accuracy also will get. Again lighting controls. Another important application of solid state relays is in the lighting control. See the lighting control here. So these are lighting control, they break it into three categories: theatrical, warehouse and commercial. They are designed whatever the depend. These are custom design means the controls are designed by as per the requirements of any particular customers. So benefits here: dimming, silent light operation, fast switching of lights, long life, no maintenance, easy to interface, reduce parts count. Now number of parts count will be less if you go for solid state relay. Again another important application, these are all daily life application we will be seeing. The motion control. So motion control, so general application motion control means elevators, lift, hoists, exercise equipments, conveyors, solar trackers, solenoids and valve control. This is the applications under motion control. Motion movement, elevators, all seen the malls, elevators, lifts, and you will be seeing the lifts also, hoists, exercise equipments. There is all related with the motion. Conveyor systems in a particular industries, solar trackers, fans, solenoid valve systems. But what is again benefits here? Shock and vibration resistance, soft starting, there will be no jerks when you enter into lift or elevators or exercise equipments or conveyor, no jerks involved. Reversing, no arcing as no contactors involved. Fast switching, long life, no maintenance. Again another important thing is easy to interface. Already works very easy to interface with the digital equipments, microcontrollers, microprocessors, logic devices. Interfacing will becomes very easier with solid state relays because we can mount them the manner you like. Again reduce parts counts. So, these are the various applications you have seen in solid state relay. All you can relate to the daily life you want. Heating control. So, heating control means you can go for air conditioning, again soldering, food equipment, heating. Lighting control, industrial lighting, commercial lighting, all lighting controls. Motion control, elevators, lifts, that's why 3 broad categories are listed. So, we have completed all the topics in the last and the 10th chapter. So, the topics we have covered so far are in this session are speed control of DC shunt motor. Speed control of DC shunt motor we can be varied by varying the applied voltage. Applied voltage is varied by using a phase control rectifier. How to vary the speed, vary the voltage of control rectifier? By varying the firing angle. So, by varying the firing angle, vary the output voltage of rectifier. So, that how we can vary, that is how we can vary the voltage applied to the DC motor, speed varies. In the feedback system, we measure the speed, check whether it is equal to or not. If there is any difference, try to increase the voltage or decrease the voltage to get your desired value. That is a closed loop of speed control of DC shunt motor. So, next topic covered is speed control of induction motor. That from method control use variable frequency, variable voltage. So, that is the way we maintain V by ratio F constant to maintain the flux constant. That is efficient and most popular method of speed control. Next we have seen the optocoupler. So, for isolation purpose between input and output circuit, we have seen the optocoupler. Again we have seen a solid state relay for switching the load on and off to a power supply, and we have seen the applications of various solid state relay. So far we have completed all the 10 chapters. Study well, have a nice time.